Hey guys, this will be part 5 of a 5-part series on making the metalwork. This is the metalwork masterclass, and this finishes it up. This finale is we're pulling the fiberglass Hammerform from the gas tank that we made it from the original piece. In fiberglass world, they call that the plug. So we're going to be pulling the mold off of the plug. In my world, we call it a hammer form. So the original gas tank was a Norton, a very rare Norton fastback. The first year they came out with the Commando. And we didn't want to ruin the tank, so we took special steps, putting special product on that protected the surface of the original tank. And this is kind of what we ended up with. We're going to be pulling this off today, and I'll be making a stand, or I call it a table, that this piece can sit on and stabilize while you're pounding out your metal. You're actually forming your metal into this part that we just made. So we're going to just take this one step at a time. If you haven't seen the other part 1 through part 4 leading up to this last part 5, I suggest you go back and at least skim through them if you want, so you kind of get the context of what's going on with this. So with no further ado.
All right, we're in the demolding phase now. This is real exciting because you get to reveal what's underneath it here. So this has always been a lot of fun. It's like Christmas morning. Unless you screw up. All right, and these are the tools we're going to use. We're going to try to get underneath it with plastic. So we don't scratch up our mold or anything. This is like a plastic wood chisel. You can bap on it with that. This one, in case it gets crazy, we use this. And these generally, what I like to do, I usually use wedges. When you demold something, you use these plastic wedges, but this is going to work for now. So let's carry on. All right, it's nice to have compressed air when you're doing this also. So you want to get started kind of evenly all the way around. We're going to blow some air underneath it. Always wear these guys with air. So first we're just going to concentrate on the outer edge. It's going to sound like Rice Krispies at first. Here we go. You can hear it kind of pop loose. There we go. You hear that little snap in the background. Look at this. This is a good sign. Look at that. So it kind of snapped everything loose. We get a longer one in there. Here we go. She's on the move. Just make sure everything around the outside is loose. Oh yeah. Okay, nice. I think our main object is not to push this off the thing at this point. All right, I think it's time for one of the wooden wedges. This always helps too, just a little. Jar it up a little, but you don't want to do this and whack it so hard that you put a little spider web cracks in here. This is kind of well, this has been sitting for 2 days. You don't want to be impatient and gut it after the first day. So, you kind of hear it releasing. Thank you, Dennis. Let me get back in focus here. There we go. crack in there is the adhesive part of this thing letting go. So, got it. Okay, that's better yet. Hammers. Get another one of these. Here we go. Yeah, that's a good spot right there. Another little cracking noise. Right.
She's probably going to come with it.
Yeah,
we'll unscrew it, let it come with it.
Yeah, I think if we pull up this way, it'll leave this in.
Unscrew this and let this whole come with it.
I'd rather see if we can pop it off. If we have trouble, then we'll start unscrewing. That's kind of helping us a little bit at this point. Oh, I see it coming up. All right, we're just gonna work our way around it. Now you want to be careful. This is going to be on the tank, so we're going to hit it on an angle so that the thick part. Make sure I can see that. Yeah, so the thick part of this is doing more of the work. All right, for now. All right, let's get this in there. It's going to be a little more stubborn on this side here. I can just tell. There we go. You hear the pop where it's coming up. Okay, now I'm just going to keep little by little, and it is going to probably release all at once. However, yeah, just hang on to that.
I think this has got to have to come off.
That's not what, huh?
I think this is going to have to unscrew.
Unscrew that? Okay. Yeah.
There's a little undercut there, especially.
That there is.
Free.
Okay.
It's free.
So where's it screwed in on the back?
Yeah, this one has got
okay.
3 screws there.
There's 2 here that hold that peg in. Nice. Yeah. I filled that up with resin. Shit. Mm-hmm. Come on. Till death do I part. It's married. Okay, there she is. Okay. Now, the tank is in, and here we go. Voila. Voila. So we're going to clean this up. The green stuff is water soluble, so we just basically wash it out of there. And we're just going to scrape the wax off. Most of that will come off with acetone. So, okay, clean up on aisle 4. Let's try to get this off all at one time. You want to avoid having to wet it and wash it off. It's going to have to be done anyway. So we're going to get the wood. Let me show you this. This is that wood that we made to form that flange on the bottom. So we're going to get that out of there. All that nice work that went into that. All right, so getting it all out in one piece, bonus. And we want to make sure we don't scrape. These edges are real sharp here. I'll probably use a plastic Bondo spreader. For this part. Anytime you put scratches in, you're just making more work for yourself. We're going to get a little curved shape. Beautiful. If you look at that, that is perfectly smooth, and it's a little bit convex. Or, I'm sorry, concave on there. This was convex. And we just keep doing this with this spreader here. Here's that nice edge that we made right here. When it gets clamped, the metal gets clamped into here. This would be a flat piece of metal, and you bring it down. And then as you pound in here, the metal is actually drawn over the edge. And for all you guys that are have answered me and are following me, this is the most valuable part right here. When you take this off, how you get it out without damaging it is really that's one of the keys to this. So we're gonna take and cut around this flange right here. We're gonna measure out. We're gonna cut this flange. Now I could have went with more layers of fiberglass here. At this point, I can lay this down and I can put more fiberglass on it. So it's not, oops, we didn't put enough on it point in this. It's still pretty thick, but it won't take that constant beating of the tools, of the pneumatic. Okay, I thought I'd shoot this. This is a very valuable antique Norton. The first year they came out, I believe this is the second year, they came out with a model called the Fastback. And this was made out of fiberglass, and very few of these exist because of the ethanol gas that's in them. So this holds a certain amount of value here. So we're going to be real careful when we take this apart, start peeling stuff off. But you can see how this didn't damage the tank in any way. This is where we hot glued all of those boards that went across here, and it didn't leave any residue on here at all. We could scrape that off with that scraper too. That hot glue comes off really nice. Here's a little patch of it right here. And we'll pull this out. See how easy this comes out. This is probably hot glued in there too. Oh, I feel a screw. Yep, there's a screw behind there underneath. We'll take him out. And we'll decommission this as our mold. They call these plugs. The actual terminology for the part that you're copying is called a plug. So you get that part of it right. And we just peel this. This is that PVA after it dries and cures. All right, so the next thing we're going to do, we're going to use this real thin, man, it's probably 3/32 of an inch thick there. 1/16 it says, 3-inch diameter by 3/8 inch arbor, the arbor hole in here. And this is a cool little tool. Can be used for a lot of things. You can put a little saw blade in here, use it around the house for woodworking projects. We'll just replace this, slap this baby on there, and this makes really short work of cutting that that flange off. So we're going to cut the flange off. I'm going to trim off around the bottom here, and that flange we're going to cut that off of the fiberglass tooling. Okay. So I wanted to show you this is damage free. This has all been cleaned off. I just got to take that green coat off there, the PVA. And the rest of this is like the day we brought it in. So no damage done to the fiberglass. If you should use a fiberglass. Okay. We are going to trim. We're going to trim this piece, and I'm going to show you a couple little tricks here. We want a uniform, like, I don't know, 2.5 inches or so on here. One of the problems if you get that PVA on your Sharpie, it's not going to work as well. We could do it lightly and try to stay on over the top of the PVA. Let's do that. So I'm using this as a guide, like this. And this is how you get that nice uniform flange. Just go like this. It's an old sheet metal scribe trick. A nice uniform distance. So, if you can see that. And we can just do the rest of our fingers. We will not need any past this mark here. So we can do this, and we can do this. Just go across here, round the corner off a little bit. There's our cut line for our flange. We also need to do it underneath here. We just need a little bit of return on here. And this is going to be a two-parter. I'm going to have to cut all this stuff off first. And then we just need a little bit of a return, right here. We'll take it right to the end and right around the corner. Now, this will probably get cut off, the metal, instead of bending underneath, but this will strengthen the tool if we leave this here, like so. Okay, so we're going to cut there. Here's our cut line on this. I want to do this up in the top. Like so. Here's our cut line. I don't know if you can see that. All right. All right. So we cut all that out. Now, once again, this isn't thick enough to take a real hard beating from those pneumatic tools. I would suggest at least another 2 coats on this. That can be achieved. We can either do it now or we can do it after we cut it out. We're going to mount this, cut it out, mount it. I'll show you how to mount it on a rack. We call it a rack for the tool. And then it can be disassembled. This will be screwed to it. You can disassemble it, add a couple more coats on it later. As long as you have enough clearance between here, this is going to be our baseboard here, board along the bottom. And as long as you leave enough clearance for the extra plastic. All right, let's get going. I'm going to get all dressed for this. Let me show you a couple things first before I get dressed. This is, it's mandatory to use a mask. And not one of those goofy dust masks. We're actually going to be cutting into that glass and the glass fibers and the plastic. And that's going to make a little cancerous soup. Those 2 things together, that dust, if you breathe that, will definitely give you sinus problems. So we're going to use this mask for that. It's got a pre-filter for the dust, and then the rest of it is activated charcoal, which will take care of any chemicals or anything that's in there. I'm going to get dressed up, nice long sleeve shirt, put tape around my sleeves so it doesn't blow up into my arms, and a pair of safety glasses, and these should do it for us. Let me get all ready. Yep. All right, we got ourselves a board we're going to use to cut the top shelf out of. So it's going to be used for that. We'll actually going to use the.
Let's want to cut the 30 out? Want to cut the length?
Yeah. Let me get you a length.
Sorry, man. I'm going to cut right at 30.
Okay. Well, here's your. There's our peak. Okay. Now we're cutting out both sides of this. So we end up with a strip that's in the profile of the tank, or of the tank tool. Make sure we got that all in. Get you right in. This is what we're using right here. Okay. There we are. Now we can come back later with that grinder I was mentioning. You can just grind this stuff, will grind right away with that wherever it sticks over. So I got one little piece to cut off here. Finished. Next thing we're going to get this ready to mount to two things, to the flange and to some 2x4s that go underneath it. So we're going to try to set up the bottom piece. Here's our bottom. Now we want this bottom to be even with the edge of this, or near the edge of it. And what that'll do is when we're bending this stuff, we can bend this outside flange down to stabilize this edge while we're bending everything. Once we get everything slammed into shape, we want to stabilize this. We're going to take the metal and we're going to bend it down across here. That's the reason why we're doing this. This is a good example of that. So a couple ways we can do this. We can put a level on here. I know I'm going to at least need 7, 7, and 7. So we're going to make those legs 7 minus the thickness of this right here. So I'm seeing 6 1/4. I'm sorry, 7 6 1/4 all the way around here. 6 1/4 and 6 1/4. All right, so we're going to need 1, 2, 3, 4 2x4s, 6 1/4. Okay, now there's a method to this madness I'm going to show you next. And that's the 2x4 placement. Okay, so we're marking out where these are going to go, and that's so we know where to drill the holes. We're going to drill pilot holes in these first. So this is going to get drilled onto this. And then this gets flipped over, and we mark the bottoms of these, and we drill pilot holes for that, flip the whole thing over, and we rinse and repeat. So I'm just going to put this here now. We want a little bit of room over here for the clamps. That's why we're giving it a little extra out there. So here we go. Boom, boom. Just going to mark this like so. And bada boom. Okay. Drill bits. All right. So here's what we're doing. We're going to line this one up with this. So every place we make a hole in here, just go right through it. And if nothing else, it'll pilot a hole. So we just eyeball this about halfway between the end and center. Oh, well, we just got lucky and hit another hole. We'll go here. Well, ain't that something? Make sure this is lined up. Close enough. All right, here we go. There we go. Now then, just double check make sure we're going to do this on the right side. Bada boom, just like so. Okay, all those holes are going to line up. Here's where we got to get crazy. Now, what I normally do is I will wood glue these. These will all get wood glued right here on both sides of this piece. If you're going to use this double-sided melamine like we are, I normally wouldn't use that. I'd use plywood so the glue would stick real well to it. Let me see what we're doing here. You just want to make sure we're not encroaching past this edge right here. Just going to go along and start putting screws in. Okay, we got this on, that on. I want to line these up. These have to line up with the holes that we previously cut in here. And the best way to do that, we're just going to give it a mark. We'll have to peek around the corner, make sure we're on our marks here. Just gives us something to go by. And you can pick any one of these pieces here. You can tip this up on its side. We don't have anything flat to put that on, so I'm going to put it on the saw table over here. All right, here's what we're doing here. Probably the hardest part of the whole thing. Just going to put a screw in from the other side. Remember glue on these. That little mark that I marked around the 2x4s. That's where your glue goes. last two. Okay, there it is. Now these screws are a little short. What I normally would do is either countersink these, or that has a ratcheting impact on it. Those will set the tops of these screws. Because these screws are so short, they'll just strip out before they impact out. So this is for purposes of demonstration. Okay, here's your piece right here. And whatever doesn't fit up, we can take this and just hit this with a grinder along the side. And what that'll do is it'll smooth the edge a little bit too, so you don't get caught on that. We got to go all the way around this with that grinder, take all the sharp edges off of here. But for all practical purposes, we're done. I'm going to mount a few screws in this, attaching it to the table, and then we're pretty much done. We'll take a look at it when we're done, do any critiques, anything we could have done better. Well, it's nice to get it on top of that 2x4 too. We run the risk of hitting those screws if we do that. And these you can countersink later and put like 1/4-inch bolts or 3/16-inch bolts, 4mm, whatever, what have you. And we're just scoring the top of that piece. The drill bit's going through the fiberglass, and then we're just making a little divot in there. Okay. Start from the middle. All right. And there it is. Pretty much just all we have to do is clean up yet and run that grinder around the edge of it. But for all practical purposes, this is done. If anybody gets involved in a project like this, I'd like to see it. I'll put it on my website, let everybody else see it. And that pretty much ends the part 4 of this. It's going to be the finale. I guess the finale would probably be actually pounding a piece of tin out on it, but you've seen that already. Those are in some of my earlier demonstration videos, my No Secrets series of videos. So I want to thank everybody for coming by. Have any questions? I answer all of my comments. So this is David L. Aschenbrenner. We're signing out. Thanks for coming by.